Okay, you got excuse. Where's your bike?
In the shop.
In the shop. In the shop. I like that. That was good. In the shop. I like that. How about you, little baby? How about you, little baby? Where's your bike? Huh? Okay, as you can see, it didn't really melt down and seize the piston or nothing. The piston's not all tore up. It's just a little sticky on the rings, you know. It's just a little bit sticky there. So that's why I'm changing that. But the real damage is on the bottom of the rod. Look at the bottom of the rod. I don't know if the camera's picking that up. Hear that thud? It's actually the rod moving up and down, not left and right, but up and down. I don't know if you can see it or not. Hopefully you can at least hear that, if not see it. But that's the damage. That's why I'm going back in there. And you can see this muck around here? See that oily dirtiness? What that dirtiness is ground up metal coming out of that pin and out of that bearing. Hey guys, we got the second set of brand new crank bearings and seals properly installed. Go back and see the other video. I forget what episode number it is, but of the KX build, and that'll show you how to properly do that. So we got those in. Now the next step is to take this rod kit and get that new pin and new bottom end bearing on that crank. So the next step is to get these crank halves pressed apart and get them cleaned up and get that pin out of there. Now, like I talked about before, you see that journal surface where my thumb is? That's the inside of the bearing surface that runs in that crankcase. Do not bead blast that. Do not clean that with abrasive cleaners. Don't touch it. If it looks nasty and dirty and ugly, you just press it in that way. Because if you take metal off of where my thumb's at, you're going to have all kind of crank bearing seal leaks. You're better to just push it in ugly and clean up around it, and don't touch that surface. All right, I'm going to reset this press so I can press that crank pin all the way out of both sides. It's got to come all the way out because I'm sure the pin's damaged. Got a couple of real strong blocks to take the load on either side of the pin. We're pushing through, and I've got the crank pushed back far enough so that the driver's not going to mar up my surface. And I found a swing arm pivot pin that was just smaller than that crank pin that's going to work as a perfect driver. So let's go ahead and see if we can get this to work without a lot of heat. Hopefully this old crank's beat up and worn out enough it'll just kind of go on its own. But I'm going to stand off to the side because I don't trust it. And I got eye protection on too. That's a hellacious amount of force, and it didn't budge. Being ignorant, it's being super ignorant, so I'm going to hit it with some heat. I checked the diameter of the new pin to see if it was tapered, to see if I need to press each half off from the center out, but that's not the case. That pin, the new pin, is completely the exact same size all the way across. So I should be able to just dry this old one out. Now when I put the new one in, I won't drag the bearing surface across the crank half. I'll show you what I mean when I get there, but I'll press each half onto the pin from the outside. I won't drive the pin all the way through when I install it. But in this case, that's an old boogered up pin anyway. So it's not a lot of heat, it's just propane. It's not like throwing a real torch at it, which I wouldn't want to do on a crank wheel anyway. We're just heating it up enough to see if we can help it a little bit. Not get this crank pressed apart. I could not get it pressed apart. So what I'm going to do is cut it in half and then press the pins out from each half independently. So I'm just cutting it right in half, just like that. And once I get through and get that pin all the way cut, then I'll just press each half off separately. That's all I can do. What a mess. What a mess cutting through that crank pin. I mean, it was a living mess. But now that I got cut through it, Now I can put something in the press around just that part and get those pins out. It's going now, guys. Oh my gosh, was that so tight. Goodness gracious. Now that I got the crank in half, and I could push just one side at a time from the outside in, now I got my crank wheel broke free. Praise God. Look at that. What a mess that was. It was in there so tight. See where it boogered up, where it was running bad and knurled up? That's probably what kept it from pushing through. But yeah. Alright. I'm going to go get the other side and get the other side out. Okay, hopefully this side's not quite as bad as the other one was. That other one, I'll cut myself. That other one was so bad it shook the press. Alright, see how this one goes. Yeah, that went, it sounded bad, but it went a lot bigger than the other one. This side's not as bad. Start by starting this pin in one side, but we're going to start it from the inside out because you don't want to push. See that real smooth surface that bearing runs on? You don't want to drive that through a crank half and then run a bearing on it. So you want to come this way so that you don't scratch that up. So you're actually going to go like that in the press. So let me get the press set up to take that and get that fit in a safe spot. The other thing you want to do is you want to get a little grease and start this. See how I got that greased up, guys? You want to lube that. If it's real dry and it goes in crooked, that's a bad deal. You want it nice and straight. So, and it's pretty easy to know how far to press it. You just press it right up until that machine's surface. So you basically press it till it won't go no more, and then you do it from the other side, and then that automatically leaves that there. And I'll show you how to set the side-to-side thrust. All right, yeah, I'm gonna leave the camera running. It looks like it's already set, so. You know what, rather than, yeah, no, I will. We'll see if we can start it. No, I'm not. It's not safe to do that. I'm gonna lift this table up, push right on the pin, which I'd rather not do, but I'm gonna do it, and then I'm gonna just start that half, because I don't want it wobbling like this and something popping out. My hope is that going straight on that pin like that, I can prevent any wobbling and just make it a little bit safer. Okay. I got a little bit of pressure. I felt it start. I'm going to back it off and go again. Why am I going to back it off and go again? Because if it's getting an angle built into it, it lets that angle reset and level. Okay. So I'll go a little bit more. See it move? See it moving? Yeah, there it goes. I can feel it. Okay, now we're going to reset a little bit. There we go. Just take pressure off and put it back on. That way, if it's getting cattywampus, it'll center itself. All right, now we're going to push this all the way in. That should be just about it right there. Check, see what it looks like. Oh yeah, another little tiddly hair. I'm gonna go another little tiny tiddly. There we go. So we're gonna call that in and good. All right. Now you get a rag and keep all that nice and clean, guys. You don't want any dirt getting up in there. Keep that all nice and clean. Clean your fingers off. Load it up. It's an ambidextrous rod, meaning it doesn't matter which way you install it. They've got all the same grooves and reliefs and everything in all the same places. Okay. Alright, now you want to press this on straight, guys. I'm going to show you how to adjust it with a lead hammer a little bit and a runout gauge, but you don't want it like that. Of course I'm exaggerating, but you don't want it like that or like that, even a couple thousandths. I mean, you want it dead nut straight. So how do you do that? How do you know you're not 1/2 of a degree off that way, right? Well, you use a truant stand and a runout gauge and a lead hammer, and I'm going to show you. But I'm going to try to get this straight as possible, because the straighter you get it with the press, the less hammering you got to do to adjust it with the lead. All right. Okay, guys, there's a crank all trued up and ready to go. New crank bearings and seals again, all trued up. From here on out, I'm just going to put the rest of it all back together and get her going.